Greetings and salutations, travelers, and welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. The following is a fan-based reading of the rulebook for the Pathfinder 2nd Edition playtest. All rights reserved to Paizo and any other proper legal owners. Thank you. Chapter 1. Overview. What is a role-playing game? Pathfinder is a tabletop adventure role-playing game, RPG, an interactive story in which one player, the game master, GM, sets the scene and presents challenges, while the other players each assume the role of a sword and sorcery adventurer, called a player character, PC, and attempt to overcome those challenges. While many of these challenges come in the form of monsters, devious traps, and the machinations of adversarial agents, Pathfinder provides enough depth to create challenges in the form of political scheming, puzzle solving, interpersonal drama, and more. The game is typically played in a group of 4 to 7 players, with one of those players serving as the group's game master. The GM prepares, presents, and presides over the game's world and its story, posing challenges and playing adversaries, allies, and bystanders alike. By responding to situations according to their player characters' personalities and abilities, the players help to create the story's plot as the outcome of each scene leads into the next. Die rolls combined with pre-assigned statistics add an element of chance and determine whether characters succeed or fail at the actions they attempt. You can think of an RPG as theater. The players are the actors, while the game master is the director. Whether you choose to play a pre-made adventure, such as Pathfinder playtest adventure Doomsday Dawn, or an adventure of your own making is up to you. The game's flow. Each time your group gets together to play Pathfinder, that's one game session. A complete game of Pathfinder can be as short as a single session, commonly referred to as a one-shot, or a game can stretch on for multiple sessions in a campaign that lasts for months or even years. A game of Pathfinder can be played for as long as the game master has an ongoing story she enjoys exploring and advancing with her players. As you continue to play Pathfinder, your player characters will defeat vile beasts, escape fiendish traps, and complete heroic quests. When they do, they accumulate experience points, often denoted as XP. Once a character reaches 1000 XP, that character gains a level. The higher your character's level, the greater the challenges they can face in the game. The players. Before the game begins, players typically invent their own characters' backstories and personalities. While it's possible to play multiple characters at once, it's generally most fun to have one character per player so that players can really get into their roles. In the case of this playtest, Doomsday Dawn provides suggestions about the types of characters best suited to each of its parts. In some cases, the adventure requires players to create specific types of characters, though these requirements are strictly for the purposes of playtesting. In general, Pathfinder limits character concepts only to the player's imaginations and the GM's parameters. Players use the game's rules to build their characters' numerical statistics, which determine the character's abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. In-depth instructions for how to create a character, pointing you toward relevant rules in other chapters, appear in the Character Creation section on page 11. During the game, the players describe the actions their characters take. Some players particularly enjoy acting, or role-playing, the game's events as if they were their characters, while others describe their characters' actions as if narrating a story. Do whatever feels best. Many in-game situations in Pathfinder have rules that govern how they're resolved. Chapter 9, for example, provides detailed information about the different modes of play, how to use the rules to spend actions when a fight breaks out, and much more. All of the rules that players need to play Pathfinder are found in this book. Keep in mind, though, that this is a playtest and that Pathfinder 2nd Edition's final rules will be published in August 2019, after we have gathered and incorporated all of your feedback. The Game Master. While the rest of the players create their characters for a Pathfinder game, the Game Master is in charge of the story and world. The Game Master is a player, but for the sake of simplicity, she is referred to in this book and other Pathfinder products as the Game Master or GM, whereas the other players are referred to simply as players. The Game Master must detail the situations she wants the players to experience as part of an overarching story, consider how the actions of the player characters might affect her plans, and understand the rules and statistics for the challenges they will face along the way. Game Masters who use Doomsday Dawn will find that much of this work is addressed in the adventure, though there's nothing wrong with participating in the playtest using original adventures. Gaming is for all. Whether you are a player or a game master, participating in a tabletop role-playing game involves an inherent social contract. Everyone has gathered to have fun together, and the table is a safe space for everyone. Everyone has a right to play and enjoy Pathfinder regardless of their age, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, or any other identities and life experiences. Pathfinder is for everyone, and Pathfinder games should be as safe, inclusive, and fun as possible for all. Players. As a player, it is your responsibility to ensure that you are not creating or contributing to an environment that makes any other players feel uncomfortable or unwelcome, particularly if those players are members of minority or marginalized communities that haven't always been welcome or represented in the larger gaming population. Thus, it's important to consider your character concepts and role-playing style and avoid any approach that could cause harm to another player. A character whose concept and mannerisms are racist tropes, for example, is exceptionally harmful and works against the goal of providing fun for all. A role-playing style in which the player or character is constantly interrupting others or treating certain players or characters with condescension is similarly unacceptable. Furthermore, standards of respect don't vanish simply because you're playing a character in a fantasy game. For example, it's never acceptable to refer to a person using an offensive term or a slur, and doing so in character is just as bad as doing so directly. If your character's concept requires you to act this way, that's a good sign that your concept is harmful, and you have a responsibility to change it. Sometimes you might not realize your character concept or role-playing style is making others feel unwelcome at the gaming table. If another player tells you that your character concept or role-playing style makes them uncomfortable, you shouldn't argue about what they should or shouldn't find offensive, or say that what you're doing is common, and therefore okay, among players or in other media. Instead, you should simply stop and make sure the game is a fun experience for everyone. After all, that's what gaming is about. Game Masters. The role of Game Master comes with the responsibility of ensuring that none of your players violate the game's social contract, especially when playing in a public space. Be on the lookout for behavior that's inappropriate, whether intentional or inadvertent, and pay careful attention to players' body language during gameplay. If you notice a player becoming uncomfortable, you are empowered to pause the game, take it in a new direction, privately check in with your players during or after the session, or take any other action you think is appropriate to move the game toward a fun experience for everyone. That said, you should never let players who are uncomfortable with different identities or experiences derail your game. People of all identities and experiences have the right to be represented in the game, even if they're not necessarily playing at your table. Otherwise, if a player tells you they're uncomfortable with something in the game, whether it's content you've presented as the GM or another player's actions, listen to them and take steps to ensure that they can once again have fun during your game. If you're preparing written material and you find the description of a character or a situation to be inappropriate, you are fully empowered to change any details as you see fit to best suit your players. Making sure the game is fun for everyone is your biggest job. How do I play? Playing Pathfinder often involves meeting in someone's home or at a game store, but there are myriad virtual tabletop applications, special programs, or web interfaces that allow players to meet online to roll dice and move pieces virtually. Some groups even mix the two, meeting with some friends in person while having others participate virtually. There's no wrong method to play Pathfinder. If you don't have a local group, we encourage you to seek a play-by-post game in the forums in the Paizo website at Paizo.com or a playtest at your local Pathfinder Society role-playing guild lodge. More about Pathfinder Society can be found at Paizo.com/Pathfinder Society. Several Pathfinder playtest products are designed to help showcase the game's new rules and to provide clear avenues from which we can gather your feedback. These include this rulebook, Doomsday Dawn, and the Pathfinder Playtest Bestiary, which provides statistics for monsters, hazards, and traps to populate your game. These products are all available for free in PDF form at Paizo.com. Additionally, you can purchase print copies of this book and other Pathfinder playtest products at Paizo.com or at your local gaming store. Other supplies for the playtest are described below. Playtesting supplies. Each person participating in this playtest can bring their own set of the following supplies, but it's common for members of a group to share some materials like books, pencils, and dice. This book, pencils or other writing utensils, character sheets, found on page 429 and at Paizo.com, a set of polyhedral dice. See page 11 for the description of these specialized gaming dice. Optionally, a miniature or pawn to represent your adventuring character. Game Master supplies. As well as a copy of this book, writing utensils, and dice, the Game Master will need a few additional supplies. Doomsday Dawn, found at your local gaming store and for free at Paizo.com. Pathfinder Playtest Bestiary, available as a free PDF download at Paizo.com. Optionally, a large piece of paper or laminated mat with a battle grid of 1-inch squares to use as a visual aid for combat encounters. Pathfinder Playtest Flip Mat Multipack is specifically designed for the playtest adventure and is available at Paizo.com and your local gaming store. Optionally, miniatures, pawns, or chits to represent the characters and monsters on the battle grid. Optionally, a Pathfinder combat pad to track the order of combat. This content was made possible by the generous support of patrons and travelers like you. Thank you.